All the best, Frank.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Pre-Press Innovation webinar. I'm Frank Woltering. I'm Product Manager at ESCO for Graphic Editing Solutions. My previous background is rotogravure prepress. I've worked in the gravure industry for about 15 years and started working at ESCO in 2005 after meeting a very nice Belgian girl. Thank you very much for joining us here in our living room here in Belgium. It's the first time we have 100 people here, but I guess I'll better tell my wife only later on. I'm joined by my colleague and friend Martin, who's connected from the UK.
Thank you, Frank. That's right, connected from the UK. Unfortunately, can't be over there, Frank, with you in Belgium or your wife. So hopefully soon we can get together and do some good stuff. So a bit about me. I've been working with ESCO now for just over 3 years. I have a technical role in assisting our global key accounts, helping them driving their own innovations on their own ESCO journey. 22, 23 years experience in the converting world, working with some key players in label, folding carton, mainly roles around reprographics manager, a lot of pre-press activities, and of course using the ESCO tools for our own innovations. So that's a bit about me.
Thanks, Martin. So in the next 30 to 40 minutes, maybe we would like to talk about trapping, the challenges and the different tools you're using to accomplish the task. Due to COVID-19 and the limited opportunities to meet you face-to-face this summer, like the Drupa, ESCO World, or other events, ESCO has scheduled a number of interesting webinars and other online initiatives. So please visit us on esco.com if you're interested in more. Special attention, of course, needs our new platform, the ESCO Innovation Hub, which we will introduce on May 26th. So we would be very pleased if you join us in this session. This session is a series of 4 in a row, talking about prepress innovations that will become available for you with the version 20 of the ESCO software platform release in June.
Okay. Some general information about this session. So everyone is muted apart from me and Frank. Hopefully that's a good thing. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask your questions. Post them on the right hand side in the questions tab on the side of your screen there. We're going to try and answer all of the questions at the end of the presentation. If we get bombarded with questions and we run out of time, then we should simply just get back to you all individually with the answers to your questions. The next point, the webinar is being recorded, so everyone who's registered will receive an email link to the recording so we can recap where we've been. And if you do have any audio or video issues, please refresh your browser window and these usually are instantly resolved. Okay.
Okay. Trapping manually can be a very complex task that requires quite some skills to get it right. In a survey that some of you have participated in, you've reported about 15% of your time spent in prepress goes into trapping. 15%, that's quite a number if we think about it in man hours. Of course, this is across all packaging segments. In offset packaging, we've learned that Power Trapper is the first choice trapping tool. My neighbor is starting bunking the wall. He's moving. Whereas the ones among you who work in flexible and gravure printing use a mixture of all. The manual trapping, the spread and choke tool in ArtPro, instant trapper, and the automatic Power Trapper, because every tool has its pros and cons. Not seldom we hear about jobs that take hours to trap and that actual print time is less than the time it needed to prepare them.
Okay, Frank, thank you. Over time, we've been continuously investing not only in R&D, but we've been taking lots of voice of customer to further innovate our trapping technology. Throughout the years, I've certainly seen it in my working within the industry. We've taken large steps to improve and move forward, giving you and the industry better trapping tools. And of course, we have no intentions of stopping where we are today. We are further innovating and moving forwards and investing in the future. So the goal that we want to try and get to, and we will achieve it, is we want 100% right first time trapping lights out scenario. So just to show how far forward we've moved over the years, Frank, excuse me, is going to give us a bit of a history lesson, showing a timeline at the beginning of this presentation. Then we're going to explain where we are today with the newest trapping solution. We want to explain our new trapping concept, which will help you get the job done much faster, but more importantly, in a much safer way. So we want to give you the satisfaction of delivering a right first time trap file to your press. Over to you, Frank.
Okay, I had to mute myself due to my neighbor. Okay, so before going into some details here, let me explain what we're looking at here. So this is a table with two axes, of course. On the left side, we find the different trapping tools and processes, starting from manual trapping by stroking objects, the ArtPro spread and choke tool, the two generations of our instant trapper, the power trapper, and what we like to emphasize on today, the new trapper. On the top, we find the important dimensions of how to define a good performing trapping solution. And this is your voice. So these are the different criteria we're picking up when talking to you or your colleagues in the industry. Let me start with an example of the ArtPro spread and choke tool, which is very popular, to explain you the different areas. So it is so often used because it gives the user the full control. Yeah, the user can influence the result and the efficiency of a trap, every trap that is created on a job. When we look into the aesthetic, here we mean the decision on the distance, the direction or the color you give to a trap to make it as least visible as possible. But of course, if you work with an interactive tool, standardization is not easy to achieve. Yeah, so how can I make sure that I get the same trap result from all my colleagues in the team? And I think we all can state that if you trap a job by 10 different people, you get 10 different results, which is not actually always what you want to achieve. Is the tool destructive? And looking at the spread and choke tool, yes, it is very destructive. It only works on fills. And I have to prepare my job, that's the preparation tab here, very well to efficiently use my trap tool later on. Of course, this takes quite some time, the preparation and the trapping of individual objects, and it includes some risk. Because if I need to prepare the file and touch the graphics, which I actually do not want to change just for the purpose of trapping, then I'm risking that I somehow change the graphics, remove something or whatsoever. And interactive trapping tools like the spread and choke tool can't be used in a workflow. I can hardly make a ticket that does this sort of trapping because it requires a human being for every little instance when going through the file. With exceptions, I'm referring to how good can I access a situation that is outside of the trapping defaults that I'm applying. So this is, of course, very well achieved because every single trap decision I make inside the graphics, I, of course, bring in the exceptions at the same time. When we look at the design change challenge, so I've trapped my file, I've sent it to the customer, he approved it, but now it comes back, or it didn't approve it, it comes back with a design change. Can I still facilitate that design change in that file? Or do I need to retrap the entire job? How easy is it to make changes to an already trapped job? And in a similar area, we find the output change. You could think about the scenario where you have trapped a job and then you want to print it on a different machine that has different print requirements. Maybe it's a new machine that requires less trapping distance. How can I achieve that? Again, do I need to retrap the entire job? Or can I use the exceptions and the work I've put into my design and just apply a different trap distance? If we compare the ArtPro spread and choke, for example, with the instant trapper, the classic version, we see a big change here in the destructiveness. Indeed, this tool does not need to work on flattened graphics. It can work on strokes, on images, on anything that you have in the design, but it's again a very manual process, so it takes quite some time and it has some risk because I can miss out making a trap. Again, I can't use that instant trapper in a workflow. And once I've brought in all those individual traps, it will be very hard to change a global trap setting of my work. Let's switch to the Power Trapper. The Power Trapper is an automatic trapper and it works with color edges. So a concept that has been picked up by other vendors. The difference of working with color edges compared to objects is that in a manual scenario, I often work on the paths and the objects themselves. I change them to achieve the trap, where with a color pair approach, it's the software that draws a line between two colors and uses that line to perform a trap. The biggest advantage of the Power Trapper concept is that I can apply standards. It has rules, it has options that I can configure. So by pushing a job into the workflow, I can really get the same trapping result. But it is not very flexible on the aesthetic part. So I need to go in and I need to make exceptions. I'm using interactive tools where I can select individual trap color pairs, change their direction, their distance, their color, and this way improve the result of the automatic trapping. That makes it nearly impossible to introduce a change to the design. Just moving an object by a millimeter in my trap file will require the entire file to be retrapped. Of course, the automatic part is easy, but the exceptions that I've applied after the automatic session, I need to redo them. So what we did in the new approach for the new trapper in our solutions is we've used both. We're using the object-based approach and we've combined it with a color-based approach. So we've created a new algorithm that can not only judge a trap based on the color situation, it also looks at objects. And I think the best way to explain it to you would be to show it. So we prepared a little demo. I will just share this with you now.
Let's have a look at a couple of simple artificial scenarios to explain some of the improvements of the new trapping kernel. The Power Trapper would trap this situation based on luminosity and opacity, and the result is probably as good as being done by a human being. The second scenario, the solid gray has turned into a shade of gray. So it became lighter. And the direction, of course, is changing according to luminosity. Probably this result is still good for many of us, but some may already find the jump in the trap as disturbing. Even though evaluating the color is important to make the right trapping decision, This sample shows the weakness of a pure color-based approach. The flipping trap is very annoying and requires the user to select certain color pairs and toggle their trap direction. An easy task, but it requires time. Trapping this situation with a new trapper gives a much more aesthetic result. Next to the color aspect, it is looking at object context when setting the direction of each single trap. This is removing the largest part of manual correction work needed when using currently available solutions. Often modern packaging designs are covered with image data that is masked out by using an alpha channel. These soft mask images have two challenges. One is the missing path to draw the trapping line, and the other is the non-existence of pixel data to fill that trap, if the image should trap into the background. Until today, the user would need to trace the border of the image, create a clipping path, and extend the image by cloning or brushing pixels to the outside. The new trapper not only vectorizes and smoothens the alpha channel, it also artificially is adding image data to fill the trap outward. Combining these two improvements gives us a much better first time right when trapping a job automatically. In this scenario here, if I use my misregistration view, we see that there is no white gap left in the image or the vector art. So this job could be printed without further modification. So one of the advantages when trapping automatically, of course, is I don't need to flatten the file. I don't need to prepare the graphics to make them suitable for my manual trapping tools. So the trapper did its work. Everything has been done on a new layer. Let me switch to misregistration view again and pan around a bit to see what the trapper had done. So no matter what the amount of vector data is or image data, now everything is trapped in a way that there is no white gap left when this job should be printed in a conventional printing process. The trapping layer is a dedicated layer with the sole purpose for trapping because it's kind of dynamic. So I could go in and, for example, change my design. Let me do a quick change in the text here, or grab some content and move it around, like this one here. We have the entire part and move it a bit to the right. So of course the traps do not fit the design any longer, but I can simply push Command T to update my trap layer, and all traps are recalculated and synced with the new design. So trapping becomes sort of dynamic. It can simply be resynced with changes in my design. But how can I influence the way the automatic trapper is trapping the job? I may have my own expectations or a certain customer that has different requirements than others. For this, you can assign tags to objects. These new trapping tags can be used to create exceptions for individual objects. For example, in my case here, I would like to have the trap direction for this image to go inwards. I simply set this property, I retrap my job, and only this trap for this image will be impacted. I can set trap exceptions not only for single objects. I could address entire groups. For example, this logo here. I find those traps a bit too thick, so I would like to reduce them, but only towards the inside. Towards the outside, I'm okay with a 0.2 mm trap. I can control the inner edges where I want the distance to be reduced to 0.1 mm. I simply retrap the job, and we see the change will only impact the inside of my logo, but not the outside. The trap exception now belongs to the object. So I could, for example, scale, change, move, copy, paste this object. The moment I rerun the trapper, it will follow the exception for this object and again have a smaller trap distance inside than outside. The new trap is not only robust against changes to the design that is already placed, I could also introduce new objects into my design and simply update the trap layer so all traps will be re-evaluated and adjusted if needed. Again, my exceptions for the existing designs remain. Let's imagine the trap requirements for this job would change. For example, it's supposed to be printed on an older machine. So I could go in and, for example, increase my global trap setting. So all traps will now be trapped with a bigger distance. For example, our image here, but still my exception of having the trap going inside remains. Same here. Outside now 0.3 millimeter, inside still my 0.1 millimeter as I had it specified. I could go even one step further and change the output intent of this document. We want to print this job in extended gamut, so with 7 colors. Let me take my spot colors and convert them. So now we're looking at the same job in a totally different separated way, where we have a new green in our background. Again, I simply go in, I create a new trap layer, it will read the exceptions put on the apple and our get set logo, and all trappings will be correct again. With this, the new trapper allows fast switching of printing equipment and removes boundaries in the production planning. It is important to know, though, that the new trapping technology is not only available inside ArtPro Plus, but also in Automation Engine and Despec. Let me remove the trapping layer and save the document, and then we'll have a look at it in Adobe Illustrator. Using the ESCO PDF import plugin, that will import and convert that PDF to an Illustrator document. Integrated with Adobe Illustrator, we find the new trapping text palette that of course shows the text that we've assigned to our getSet group and the image. Identical to ArtPro Plus, I can launch the new trapper and trap the job entirely in one go. Using the same trapping technology in ArtPro Plus, Despec and Automation Engine ensures the same quality trapping results as well as consistency when trapping similar designs among those applications. I would like to hand over to my colleague Martin Webster, who will explain to us how this new trapper is being used in Automation Engine.
Thank you, Frank. Fantastic. Okay, so as Frank was saying, I'm going to take a look into an automation engine to show you how this technology works across platform. We've opened up an automation engine window here, and we can go into our automation engine job and take a look at the parameters. There's a simple parameter in here with a trapping distance value of 0.25. Okay, we've created a very simple trapping workflow, and if we open the ticket, we can see that the trap distance is using the job parameter. More importantly, if we scroll down to the public parameters, we can make sure that the public parameter is set to allow the user to set the value of the public parameter. So what do we want to do? We want to take our file, the start file, we want to take it through the trap ticket in Automation Engine, which will send the file down the workflow and trap the file at 0.25, which is the result of the parameter. When the file has been trapped, we can open the file in ArtPro Plus and start taking a look around at the result of the trapping scenario. So here we can see, if we go into our object browser and go into our trapping tags, we can see, looking at the inspector, that the trapping scenario has been applied to the two trapped objects within the file, 0.25 there. Also, if we're going to the trapping settings within ArtPro Plus, we can see that the distance is also 0.25, which has been pulled in from Automation Engine. If we wanted to make some exceptions to some colors, we can choose our gray or our silver color here and apply some exceptions using the trapping tags as Frank shown us in the previous scenario. So for this silver or gray color, we're going to place in a distance of 0.4 millimeters. And we're going to save the file, so the metadata gets saved to the file. We're going to run the file from ArtPro Plus into Shuttle, which triggers again the Automation Engine workflow. So if we go back into Automation Engine, we can see again the workflow has been triggered by ArtPro Plus, and again we're sending the file down the workflow to apply the trapping, which results in another file. And we can go now into this file again to see what the results are. So we can see now that the silver or the gray color has been trapped into the green by 0.41, and the rest of the document has had the trapping tags honored. Okay, also that works for Adobe Illustrator. So now we move to Adobe Illustrator. And we can see on the top right-hand side that the distance, the trapping tag has been added at 0.5 millimeters. And this is for the object that we've got selected, which is the green box on the right-hand side there. So we're telling the Illustrator and the tags to trap this object at 0.5. So we can, from Illustrator, launch a workflow. We can open the shuttle. We can pick the correct workflow, but also we can adjust the trapping parameter distance of the global trapping parameters as well in here. So in here, we can place in 0.4, and we launch through the workflow, which obviously opens Shuttle through Illustrator, which will tell us that the workflow is ran, no need to go into Automation Engine. So the workflow is now completed, which gives us a different file or a completed trapping file. And again, just to show the round trip, we open this file within ArtPro Plus for a couple of seconds for the file to open up. And we can see that the global trapping distance is carried on through to 0.4 millimeters. And also in here, we can go to our object browser and our trapping tags, choose the green object, and we have a distance of 0.5. Okay, I hope that was a good enough and clear enough explanation. I think we can go to our next slide. And Frank, if you can pick this up from here.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Martin.
No problem.
So we the trapping concept, which is not only limited to ArtPro Plus. No, it's the same concept for all our flagship graphic applications, so DeskPack, ArtPro, and also the Automation Engine. And as you saw, I was able to use the standalone functionality inside the editors, as well as shuttling graphics into the workflow that uses the same kernel. So the new engine has an improved aesthetic trapping. So it does decision not only based on colors, but also on objects. It can automatically clone pixels of image data if needed. I have the ability to set a global trap setting that allows me to switch to other printing processes, but define my exceptions or individual decisions based on objects. And all this is pretty platform independent because we're using the concept across those. We have some time to answer some questions, and there are already a number in our chat window. There is one from Ahmed. Is this option only in ArtPro Plus or also in ArtPro? No, this is completely new, developed on native PDF, including the processing steps support and so on. So this is a feature that is available in ArtPro Plus Desk and Automation Engine only, working with native PDF. And that probably connects to a question that Len had. He already made some experience with a new trapper, and he was wondering why objects still get trapped when the layer is hidden. This also has to do with working on native PDF, because every time we now introduce or create functionality, we have to cross-check with how do other PDF readers and consumers see that information. How is Adobe showing, or Adobe Reader or Acrobat showing a file? How is a third party ripping this file? And that is limiting us in some cases to take all the freedom we would like to take. And one of those is that if you don't want a layer to be trapped, you have to turn on the printing icon, because then this layer is also invisible for other applications. There's more here. Is it better to have the same version of ArtPro Plus in Automation Engine? Yes, of course. So we're introducing this new trapping kernel, and I believe that the version 20 is a very important milestone. So from there on, we have synced the trapper in all those applications, so they work the best together if they're on the same version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can I use different trapping presets in ArtPro Plus, so in the new trapper, for different jobs, like in PackEdge or Power Layout? Sorry, Power Trapper. Yes, that was something I referred to in the first slide with the overview, that one of the strong concepts of the Power Trapper is the ability to create rules, trapping rules. And yes, this is something that we're working on, so you can expect rules soon with the new trapping engine.
Got one. Frank, here I have, okay. Can I move tagged objects to different documents? Okay, yes. If I can remember my days in the industry, we were copying maybe logos, some complex files from one document to another. Of course, if you want to take the trapping, you've got to make sure you've got the trapping and maybe the trapping layer and paste it through to the new document. But with this new technology, guys, we can copy and paste through ArtPro Plus, copy and paste through Illustrator, and the metadata is kept within that particular piece of artwork or logo that you're trying to copy through. So it will remember the tag, so the metadata stays with the piece of artwork. So we can copy and paste through. The answer to that question is yes.
Okay. Then I have one more related to versions from Pedro. I hope I get it right here. Also a question, when will the new trapping ticket, I guess, be available? It is already available in Automation Engine 18.1. But again, as I said, we resyncing the software in the version 20. So there, the Automation Engine trapping ticket will carry the same kernel as the ArtPro Plus and Desk applications, and all traps created are just perfect, perfectly in sync. A question related to normalized PDF. I already made a reference to the processing steps that do not exist in normalized PDF. Normalized PDF has a concept of technical inks, whereas the native PDF has moved to an ISO standard called processing steps, and this fact makes the makes the normalized PDF and the native PDF very different. So similar to this trapper not working on ArtPro files, it's the same for the normalized PDF. It will trap the normalized PDF file, but you cannot assign those tags that are, of course, important to establish your exceptions. I don't know if you got another one, Martin?
1 second, Frank, just scrolling. Okay, how about color pairs? Will they come back? That's one for you, Frank, color pairs.
Whoa, that's a very interesting question. Today, you're assigning those exceptions to the objects with the advantage that the object will be there if you change the trapping, or that you can copy paste an object with, as you described, with already trapping tags assigned and use it in other designs. The disadvantage on color pairs is the fact that they are a kind of clone of only this little piece of a vector that is between two colors. So it can change the moment you changing the graphics, and that makes them very robust for design changes. So at the moment, we do not think that those trap color pairs will come back because they're just too vulnerable. Okay.
Great.
I think I have another interesting one here that's related to the very beginning of my presentation. Can you share the URL again on the innovation show? So the innovation show, that's probably the ESCO Innovation Hub, and probably my colleague Frederick has picked up this question and is sharing something with you. So you have the link to those to this webinar. Oh yeah, there it is. Very nice. Thank you, Frederick. Christian, what is the difference between the version 18.1.3 Trapper and the version 20? The version 20 is supporting exceptions, so tags for pullbacks as well. So not only for traps, also for the pullbacks, which are, of course, for some printers as important as the traps themselves.
Yeah.
So that's a better coverage on that area.
Yeah.
Okay, Martin, I think.
Yeah. I'm good. Some great questions there, by the way.
Yeah, thanks a lot to everybody sharing those questions with us. I would like to, or we would like to thank you very much for joining us here. You all stay safe, and I hope that we can meet face-to-face soon. Until then,
absolutely.
Enjoy.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.